Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Chargers. They've won 2 in a row as they've won not 1 but 2 games on primetime against the Bears and the Jets. But hey, the Jets was a pretty solid win, considering the Jets have a pretty stout defense. But now the Chargers have a big challenge ahead of them as they take on the Detroit Lions, which is led by former LA Ram Jared Goff. Speaking of the LA Rams, the LA Rams are just disappointing as they are a walking injured reserve as Matthew Stafford is out, and as a result, the Rams just got bullied by the Cowboys and the Packers. Fortunately, they can't hurt us because they're on bye. And USC did what they were supposed to do a while ago as they fired Alex Grinch. But I think it might be the case of too little too late as they got thumped by Washington. This week they are taking on Oregon as it's another challenge for the Trojans. And UCLA has another quarterback controversy as we don't know who their quarterback's going to be, as they lost to Arizona, which is just pain right there. And we don't know who's starting, whether it's going to be Ethan. We don't know if Ethan Garbers is going to play. And also, San Diego Wave FC sadly lost as in the semifinals, despite them hosting, they lost to OL Reign, which means their playoff run has come to an end. Sad, sad, sad. But LAFC is still alive as they just swept out Vancouver. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 155 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on TikTok, TikTok, Instagram, and formerly known as Twitter, X. Still am going to get used to that, at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page. All you just have to do is type in the word IE Sports and then radio in the search bar, like us, and then boom, that's how you're able to follow us on Facebook. And we also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, and when you go there, it'll be an daily updated website for all your sports news, our blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, such as this one, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and our merchandise shop. Because for the past 9 years and counting, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on. All you have to do is visit www.planetjerky.net and place your order, and then boom, that's how you're able to have that delicious Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky in your fingertips. Follow Planet Jerky on Instagram at Planet Jerky. And a huge shout out once again to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is by following it on X at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, on X, mainly at Teran Rodriguez 1. And without any further delay, let us begin. As Jen B is in the chat room, she said, "Hey, Teran, have a great show." Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. So let's get on into some NFL action. As I apologize for missing last week's show. I just could not find the time to go live. And it's really I'm just going to say this. It's so difficult to go live just because I'm just so busy with life. And it's just incredibly difficult. And for those that are patient with me, I really do appreciate it. So thank you for everyone that is remaining patient with me. So let's start off with some NFL action. So let's just start off with the Chargers, just because they do have a game this week, unlike the Rams. So for the Chargers, in week 8, they took on the Chicago Bears, and I called the Bears quarterback Tyler Bagent when it's actually Tyson Bagent. So that's my apologies on that. So this was kind of a game that I was a little bit concerned over, but thankfully for the Chargers, they were able to take care of business, just because the Bears they're not really the sharpest tool in the shed. As thankfully for the Chargers, they were able to get the job done, and they jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and they did not let up. And thankfully for the Chargers, they had good clock management. Their defense was stout, and Justin Herbert had a very good game. He almost had 300 passing yards. He had over 300 yards altogether. Austin Eckler was just phenomenal. He was phenomenal in the receiving game and in the rushing game, even though the Chargers didn't really run the ball that much. And all in all, the defense was phenomenal, even though it was Tyson Bagent. So altogether, it was a great game for the Chargers. They won 30-13. And thankfully, I didn't have to basically wonder if the Chargers were going to blow it. They only turned the ball over once, and that was in the fourth quarter, but altogether, there was just no cause of concern if you're a Chargers fan. So, great job to the Chargers, and I imagine if the Chargers lost this one, Brandon Staley probably would have been fired. So jumping to Week 9, the Chargers had another primetime game as they played on Monday Night Football. So Week 8, they played on Sunday Night Football against the Chicago Bears, and I'm surprised that game did not get flexed out. And then this past Monday, they played on Monday Night Football against the New York Jets. And I was very concerned going into this game for the Chargers, as the Jets have a very stout defense, and I thought this would be the get-right game for the Jets, just because the Chargers' defense is leaky, and their offense is somewhat inept. Thankfully for the Chargers, they were able to break the ice, as I think they met an offense a little bit more inept than them, and that was the New York Jets' offense. As thankfully for the Chargers, they had a really good punt returner in Darius Davis, as he had an 87-yard punt return touchdown, which was straight up phenomenal. And then the Chargers defense balled out again. I know Zach Wilson is not a good quarterback. I know Aaron Rodgers is better, but let's be honest. If Zach Wilson had the same amount of time that Aaron Rodgers did, I think Aaron Rodgers would straight up be sacked a bunch of times, and he'd be fumbling quite a bit as well. So I'm not going to say that Aaron Rodgers would have been the solution, but I will say he would have been a vast improvement over Zach Wilson. But all in all, the Chargers' defense really balled out. They forced 3 turnovers, while the offense didn't turn the ball over once, which is great. And they got to Zach Wilson 8 times. The defense really got to Zach Wilson quite a bit, as Zach Wilson got sacked 8 times. And Zach Wilson, despite not throwing any interceptions and despite having more passing yards than Justin Herbert, that doesn't really tell the whole story about this game. Zach Wilson was under so much stress, and basically he just could not complete anything. And it was just so tough for Zach Wilson. So all in all, for the Jets, this was kind of the battle of who was going to get right. And the Chargers really did a good job of capitalizing on the Jets' turnovers. And I was thinking that the Chargers were going to get the Infinity Stone touchdown trick, or the hat trick touchdown. A touchdown in special teams, an offensive touchdown, and a defensive touchdown. Unfortunately, that was not the case, as Alohi Gilman was just short of the goal line, as he was down at, I think, like the 2 or the 1 after Khalil Mack stripped Zach Wilson. But overall, it was just a great game from everybody. Austin Eckler, this time he dominated in the run game. And Keenan Allen, here's something really phenomenal about Keenan Allen. He actually surpassed 10,000 receiving yards, which was awesome sauce. And he did it in the most dramatic and amazing way, as he had an acrobatic catch. And unfortunately, if you went up against Keenan Allen, which is what I did in fantasy football, that basically might have been the nail in the coffin, and that was the case for me. So, but all in all, I do have to congratulate Keenan Allen on surpassing 10,000 receiving yards, which is absolutely amazing, as all of those yards are from him being on the Chargers. And then also, he joins Antonio Gates to surpass 10,000 receiving yards as a Charger. So there's that right there. Austin Eckler had 2 rushing touchdowns. It was a very ugly game just because the Jets defense just really made it tough. Yes, the Jets had more offensive yards, but some of those yards were kind of in garbage time. And that's no disrespect to the Jets, but the Jets were kind of in panic mode, and they had to basically go YOLO in practically the last few minutes. And they had to do everything to basically make the score respectable. But credit to the Chargers, they didn't give up a touchdown, which I think is great. And I know it's the Jets. Again, I was very surprised that the Jets didn't get a touchdown at all. I thought the Jets should have maybe ran the ball, because I know the Chargers have improved in terms of the run defense, but I think you still got to run the ball down the Chargers' throat. But that's just how it is, and unfortunately the Jets just could not do it, and the Jets are going to Jets, unfortunately. So the Chargers are 4-4. They're back at 500, which is awesome sauce, as this week the Chargers have a big challenge ahead of them, as the gauntlet has already started. It started with the Jets, which I'm just going to also throw this out there. You know the Chargers are having a rough season when their best win is against the Jets. Yes, they did play the Vikings, but that was when the Vikings were winless at the time. And the Raiders were also in the midst of a downward spiral with Josh McDaniels, so that win kind of has a little bit of an asterisk on it. And also the Chargers were shut out in the second half. And the Bears' win was just not that good. So the fact that the Chargers' best win is against the Jets, who has probably the most inept offense, and was one of 5 teams that failed to score a touchdown in Week 9, says a lot about the Chargers this season and how they don't really have they haven't really had a true breakout win. But I digress. Anyway, so the Chargers are back home against the Detroit Lions. Detroit is a 3-point favorite. Now, here's the thing. If the Chargers want to have any sort of hope of making the postseason, they really have to beat somebody. So, Marcus in the chat room, he says, salute. Thank you, Marcus, for popping in. He says, the Bears were so bad, they made my wings stink, LOL. Oh, man. I can't imagine that. Oh, man. I don't even want to know. Anyway, and are we talking about buffalo wings or chicken wings? But regardless, that's gotta sting. But anyway, the Chargers take on the Lions. They play at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. All right, this is kind of where this is an interesting game for the Chargers. The Chargers are taking on a Lions team which is coming off of a bye, and while the Chargers have a very short week. Okay, so it was chicken wings. Okay, thanks, Marcus. All right, so the Chargers are taking on a Lions team which has been fully rested, and they're taking on a Jared Goff-led Lions team, which, God, it looks like the Lions might have won that Jared Goff-Matthew Stafford trade. But then again, the Rams did get a Super Bowl ring. Can't deny that. But it looks like But the Lions have definitely been incredible this season. Let's not beat around the bush. The Lions have definitely improved, and the Lions have a lot of good playmakers on their team. First and foremost, Jared Goff looks like the Jared Goff from his days of young, and how he's actually supposed to be the high draft pick that he is. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown makes his return to Southern California, so I imagine he's got family out there. So if only Equinemius was on the Chargers or the Lions, then heck, his entire family and his cousins and his aunts and uncles and everybody would probably be out there rooting for him as well. And maybe his modern day family would be out there as well. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right, but the Lions, they're going to be such a challenge for the Chargers. But I feel the Chargers can win this one. I really think that they have a shot. But here's my thing. The Chargers have everything going against them. It's a short week. The Lions just got off of a bye. The Lions, even though they kind of got punched in the mouth against... they kind of got back on track against the Raiders. But still, they got... A couple weeks ago, they got punched in the mouth against the Ravens. But they have won... They've won 4... They've won a good amount of their games. And the last time they lost was... prior to the Ravens game, was when they lost to the Seahawks, which that was in overtime. So all in all, they've won one game prior to the bye. So I really want to pick the Chargers, but I can't. I just think that the Lions have too much firepower. You know what? I'm doing it. I'm picking the Chargers to win. I'm going to regret this ever so much. I'm going to say the Chargers beat the Lions 28-24. I'm going to regret it so much, but I think the Chargers have they have a fighting chance. If the offense, they're never going to see another defense like the Jets this year. I highly doubt it. The only defense that I think comes close to it is maybe the Ravens, maybe the Chiefs. But I do not think they will ever see another team defense like the Jets. And if they can overcome that defense, then they could do whatever they wish. But I think I got the Chargers beating the Lions 28-24. Is that pushing it? Yes. Do I think it's doable for the Chargers to win at home? Hence the word home in quotation marks. Yes, because I think Detroit fans travel well. Because Detroit fans have a lot to be excited about, just because this is probably their best team in a while, and they're probably going to win the division. But let's be honest, the division sucks. No offense to Packers, Vikings, and Bears fans, but I think it's safe to say the Lions have that division unless they collapse. But all in all, I think I got the Chargers winning. It's going to be close, and the Chargers really have to be on their P's and Q's. The good news is for the Chargers is that they actually don't have anyone on the injury report in terms of this game. Now, here's another thing that y'all got to realize. They still have players on IR like Joshua Palmer, which really, 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 really sucks. And I wish that wasn't the case. As I wish the Chargers did not have Joshua Palmer on IR. I think it would have been great to not have anybody on IR, but it is what it is. As for the Lions, doubtful is Levi Owuzu. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Donovan Peoples-Jones is questionable. Dan Skipper is questionable. So it looks like both these teams are going to be healthy as possible. I mean, Justin Herbert, he had a full practice. Joey Bosa had a little bit of an illness, which is, I guess, interesting. Michael Davis popped up on the injury report as he had an illness today, but everyone is good to go. So Okay, there is no injury designation, so I guess there isn't any too much of an excuse. I know the Chargers don't have Joshua Palmer. I get it. They don't have Mike Williams. But I'm hoping the Chargers can get Jalen Guyton involved. If they can get Jalen Guyton involved, they did not get him involved against the Jets, but it would be great to get him involved in that game, because I bet you anything that the Lions are going to try to take away Keenan Allen after last week's game. They're probably going to take away maybe Quentin Johnston as well. So that should maybe open up Jalen Guyton's window as well, just because he did come back from the PUP list. So we'll see what happens, but all in all for the Chargers, I say give it to Jalen Guyton, because he's a speedster. Also, when in doubt, give it to Austin Eckler as well. Like, run the dang ball, because running the ball did work. So anyway, that is that for the Chargers. Now for the Rams, and man, remember, unlike Jared Goff, who got traded from the Rams, his old team isn't really doing all that great. As well, for starters, against the Cowboys, the Rams straight up got manhandled as they got thumped 43-20. This one wasn't even close, as the Rams were down at one point 33-3. 33-3. And I want to say Stafford threw 2 pick sixes. He threw 1 pick six in the first quarter, which was a no-no by itself. Okay, so he only threw 1 pick six, which I guess is good. But still, yeah, he only threw 1 pick six. So I guess that's a good job, but still, that's sad, dude. I feel horrible for Matthew Stafford. I hope this isn't the end for him, but God, you know you didn't do a good job when Dak Prescott outdid you, but I'm just kidding. It was on the road, and obviously Jerry World is so tough to win at, especially when there's a million gazillion fulfillion Cowboys fans breathing down your neck saying, "How about them Cowboys?" And I know that the Rams did all that they could to try to come back, but look, you have to play practically perfect in order to beat the Cowboys. The Chargers did all that they could to try to beat the Cowboys, and it wasn't enough. So for the Rams, this wasn't even remotely close. And what was worse is that Matthew Stafford hurt I think it was his thumb or his finger I think it was his thumb against Dallas, and he was out against Green Bay, and I already knew the Rams were screwed against the Packers, because the Rams never beat Green Bay at Lambeau Field. I knew that when the Rams stepped foot in Lambeau Field, they were all but screwed. But when they started Brett Rippin', that's when I really knew they were not going to win. That's when I knew it was over. It was over. Or to quote Kenny Smith, "It's over! It's over!" And oh my God, that was a horrible voice crack. I am so sorry to all of the Kenny Smith fans. But in Week 9, the Packers wound up smoking the Rams 20-3. Now, the final score may not be as bad as you may think it is, but it's pretty bad. It wasn't even close. It was about as close as it can get in the first quarter when it was 0-0. And maybe the second quarter. But after that second quarter, the Rams failed to do anything in the second half. This was like practically every other Rams game where the Rams didn't play a team worse than themselves. The Rams straight up stunk. Stunk. As I think Matthew Judon said in his preseason press conference one time. But the Rams straight up are horrible, dude. I don't get why you have Brett Rippin on your team. Seriously, what is the logic of having him on your team? You have all these other quarterbacks that you probably could have traded for. And what did you get? Nothing. You kept Brett Rippin. Does the dude even have a win? Are you even thinking?
Last year you did a great thing by getting Baker Mayfield. That was smart. But instead, you kept Brett freaking Rippon, and he goes out there and does absolutely nothing. He completes less than 50% of his passes, and he loses to Jordan Love. Sickening right there. Just absolutely disappointing. It doesn't make any sense. And you know you have to invest in a backup quarterback because Matthew Stafford is getting up there in age, and he had a season-ending injury. When in doubt, invest in a backup quarterback. And it would have been awesome if Stetson Bennett was available. I think Stetson Bennett would have even done better than Brett Rippon. I don't care what anyone says. Bennett would have been better than Brett Rippon. But the offense was just so awful, dude. Like, you just cannot justify it. The Packers, on the other hand, they had a grand total of 391 yards of offense to the Rams' 187 yards. 187. I don't even think, if I'm doing my math correctly, the Rams got doubled up and then some in terms of offensive yards. That's just not correct, dude. And the Packers aren't even that good. Jordan Love has been struggling throughout a majority of the season. I had a feeling the Packers were going to win, but my God, Rams, this is just a whole other level of disappointment. And I think we gave the Rams a little too much credit for their win over Seattle. Now we're starting to see the Rams' true colors, and they straight up stunk. And it sucks because I really wish we could have seen Matthew Stafford taking on the Packers. But in all honesty, I don't know if Matthew Stafford would have taken down Green Bay. I think it would have been close. It certainly would have been closer than this. But in all honesty, I think the Packers would have won just because the Rams never win at Lambeau Field. Now, if this were at SoFi, maybe, hence the word maybe, the Rams might have been able to win. I don't know why the Rams struggle at Lambeau Field. It must be a SoCal thing when it comes to playing in the Midwest. Does this mean the Chargers are doomed to playing at Lambeau Field? God, that's not good. And they play them in 2 weeks. Anyway, I'm not talking about the Chargers. I'm talking about the Rams. But the good thing about the Rams, if you're a fan, is that they can't hurt you this week. They have a bye. Woohoo! But they're back in action on November 19th when they host the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm 99% certain the Seahawks are going to come out for revenge. They're going to really want some revenge after that first game of the season. I mean, it would be great if the Rams were to beat the Seahawks a second go-around. But let's all be honest. The first week was basically an anomaly. No one expected anything from anybody. Nobody expected the Rams to come out like a bat out of heck and basically show the Seahawks what for. And it's a divisional matchup. Anything can happen in divisional matchups. I don't know if the Rams have too many. The Rams don't seem to have too many guaranteed wins. The only guaranteed wins I see on this record is the Cardinals, the Commanders, and the Saints. Oh, and the Giants. I'm sorry. Well, not sorry to Giants fans, but yeah, those 4 are the only guaranteed wins. And that's only 4 wins right there. So at best, the Rams are going 7-10. If math serves me correctly, I was never a math whiz, but yeah, 7-10. Which I'm certain the Rams are not going to get into the playoffs. I would like to see the Rams make the playoffs, but I just don't see it. But let's say they do upset the Seahawks, then it would be 8-9. I don't see them beating the Browns. They're certainly not beating the Ravens. The Commanders they can beat. The Saints they can beat. The Giants they'll certainly beat. And they're not beating the Niners. So like I said, 8-9 at best. 7-10 is most likely. But playoffs, don't even try to think for a minute that the Rams are making the playoffs. So, yeah. As Patty Bax pops into the chat room, she says, "I'm here still working but listening while I can. Have a great show, Teran." Thanks, Patty. And Larry B popped in the chat room. He said, SoCal. Thanks for popping in, Larry. So, I'm not going to make a prediction for the Rams-Seahawks game, but thankfully I don't have to just because, well, they don't play this week. I don't need to. Anyway, alright, but that's that for the NFL. Jumping on over to some college football. Alright, let's get the USC thing over with. Alright, ever since that debacle against Utah, USC played 2 games, which was the last time we talked about USC and UCLA and San Diego State. So, USC played Cal, and thankfully for their sake, they pulled off a win, but it was the most ugliest win ever as they beat Cal 50-49. And I hate USC Twitter, USC Football X for this because they celebrated a 2-point conversion when their defense had given up 49 points already to Cal. Seriously, you made this Cal team look like it had Tony Gonzalez and Aaron Rodgers on it. Stop glorifying your defense like it's the best thing since the Legion of Boom. It's not. Just please stop, USC. So that's the good news. USC beat Cal. Yay! But here's the bad news. USC, while it did put up 42 points, it wound up laying... Well, first and foremost, let's look at the box score between USC and Cal. So Caleb Williams had a major bounce-back game as he had 369 passing yards. He had 2 touchdown passes. While his running back, Marshawn Lloyd, he had 115 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, while Taj Washington had 102 receiving yards on 5 receptions. Here's my problem with the USC defense. They made Jaden Ott, whoever he is, look so elite. He had 153 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. They made him look like Marshawn Lynch. That should not be happening. It just shouldn't. I'm sorry, but I'm not. And this is Cal. This is a 3-4 Cal team coming in. I know it's on the road, but it's still no excuse. So, major bounce-back game for Caleb Williams, and I'm happy he had a major bounce-back game. But against Washington, and I feel for Caleb Williams. He had himself a great game. 3 touchdown passes, 312 passing yards, and he was 27th for 35, so he almost completed 80% of his passes. But sadly, Washington outdueled USC 52-42. Yeah, USC gave up 52 points. 52 points. Are you joking me? They made this dude, Dylan Johnson, look like... I don't know who's the best running back to come out of Washington, but they made him look like Derrick Henry. He had 256 rushing yards. That's a no-no by itself. And he had 4 rushing touchdowns. How? What? Is USC's rush defense supposed to be the Chargers or something? Like, this is unacceptable. USC needs to get on that sleigh, because that is so terrible. You can't just allow 256 rushing yards from one guy. And if you include the 153 from last week against Cal, or the previous week against Cal, that's over 400 rushing yards from 2 running backs. Like, I just don't understand the accountability that hasn't been taken from. And Michael Penix Jr., despite not having his best game and getting outdueled by Caleb Williams, he had 256 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He went 22 for 30. I just don't understand it, dude. Like, and I feel bad for Caleb Williams, and I feel horrible for him. The dude also was emotional after the game, and I know everyone's going to criticize him, saying he shouldn't be crying in public and whatnot, but the dude pours his heart and soul, and the dude has to practically carry this USC team, which has the worst defense of all. And there were a lot of stats there were some ugly stats that I saw, which, okay, here it is. And this is courtesy from Ryan Carte, who was on X. And I don't know if this is as of recent, but this was from November 5th. And I have to thank Ryan Carte for this. So he says, USC now ranks 124th in scoring defense, which is giving up 34.5 points per game, 122nd in total defense, 436 yards per game, 120th in rush defense, 186.5 yards per game, 107th in pass defense, 249.5 yards per game, 128th in plays of 10-plus yards allowed. Let me say that again. 128th in plays of 10-plus yards allowed per game, which is 150. Basically, they've given up 150 in plays of 10-plus yards allowed, and they're 102nd in plays of 10-plus yards allowed, which is 62. Which the last two is kind of confusing. 132nd in plays of 10-plus yards. Okay, but still. And he also says, for reference, there are 133 FBS teams. So, in case you're not keeping score, USC has arguably the worst defense in the FBS. So, for being a top 25 team, USC's defense is straight up garbage truck juice, dog water, sewage water. The list goes on and on. USC's defense is just so horrible, dude. And the fact that they are 132nd in plays of 10-plus yards, basically their offense just doesn't produce that many yards of 10-plus yards. It's like, really? Their offense is just that bad? And they're getting cooked by teams that are inferior to them, like Cal, even though they beat Cal by like 1? That's just bad, dude. So, I don't know who needs to take accountability, but this is just on everybody. I know, sewage water. Just straight up sewage everything. Sewage pollution, sewage everything. Yes, and Patty's laughing at my joke. But, yeah, it's just bad everything. It's just bad altogether. The defense is just terrible all around. And USC had championship aspirations. And what are we seeing? Just a straight up collapse. USC just straight up went down like the Titanic ever since that Arizona State game. But hey, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I knew they were pretty much done for ever since they had a close call against Arizona. So, thank you to Ryan Carte. He gets the Big W award for giving me that, for posting that little USC nugget on X. So, yeah. But thankfully for USC, they did do something that I did not think that they would do. They fired Alex Grinch, their defensive coordinator. It's too little too late. They should never have brought him back. They should have fired him before the season began. At least they at least did something good. They, along with the Raiders, did something good. Like the Raiders did with firing Josh McDaniels and Mike Ziegler, their GM. But back to USC, them firing Alex Grinch was very, very, very smart. They should have fired him before the season began. They should have fired him after the Cotton Bowl when they gave up, what? I forgot how many points they gave up. Was it 46 against Tulane? But regardless, it's too little too late because USC's championship hopes are basically closed. Even if they win the Pac-12, they're not going to make the Final Four, the FBS championship. It's just not possible. So for USC, thankfully, they were able to fire Alex Grinch, and ding dong, the witch is dead, or in this case, the Grinch is gone. So for USC, they are back at it this weekend, or tomorrow, when they hit the road to Eugene to take on number 6 Oregon. Now, if USC wants to have any sort of hope of making it to the Pac-12 championship, they have to beat Oregon. They have to beat Oregon, otherwise it's pretty much a game over for them. Then they can't win the Pac-12 championship. Well, they have to run the table first and foremost. If they want to have any sort of consolation prize, they have to basically beat Oregon and beat UCLA. And that would be the ultimate slap in the face. Watch USC just somehow run the table and beat Oregon and then beat UCLA, and then they make the Pac-12 championship, and then they beat Washington. And then they make the committee's decision a whole lot more interesting. But they're not going to get into the FBS championship because they have 3 losses. They lost to Notre Dame, they lost to Washington, and then they lost to Utah, which Utah's not even in. Utah's in no man's land. And Washington, I highly doubt Washington's going to lose to Utah. I mean, maybe they'll lose to Oregon State, but that ain't happening. And I highly doubt Washington State's beating Washington. So that's that for USC. Now for UCLA. All right, so last time we talked about UCLA, they had just beaten Stanford in primetime. And on that note, that's good transition to go into their matchup against Colorado. So against Colorado on October 28th, they managed to beat Colorado in primetime, 28-16. Okay, I'm not surprised that this happened, that they won. However, I am surprised that UCLA only was up 7-6 at halftime. It took UCLA all 4 quarters to pull away, but thankfully UCLA was able to go up 28-9 at one point, and Colorado just could not eventually get it together. Thankfully for UCLA, they did have their quarterback put together a good game, even though he threw a pick, as Ethan Garbers was serviceable, as he was 20 for 27, 269 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I'll say this, he was much more serviceable than Shedeur Saunders, and that's not trying to be mean. One thing that was probably the biggest difference between UCLA and Colorado was the run game, as Colorado only had 25 rushing yards altogether. That's when you know Colorado's offense was straight up donkey do, while UCLA's offense was flowing like the rivers of golden. I know, I'm being weird today, but whatever. Anyway, but UCLA was able to win that matchup, and I want to say UCLA doubled up Colorado in terms of its overall offense. Yeah, they did. Colorado had 242 yards of offense compared to UCLA's 487. And if my math serves me correctly, 242 times 2 is 484. So, yeah, UCLA barely doubled up on Colorado in terms of offensive yards. So, good job to UCLA. I'm impressed. So that's the good news for the Bruins. The bad news for the Bruins is that they followed up that win over Colorado with a 27-10 loss against Arizona. Now, Arizona is actually better than what most people give them credit for. There's a reason why Arizona was one game away from actually being bowl eligible, and there's a reason why I really wanted to pick Arizona against UCLA on 3 and Out College Edition, which will be going on tomorrow, by the way. So, for Arizona, they have a really good quarterback in Noah Fafita, and they also have a really good tight end in Tataroa McMillan, a.k.a. T-Mac. And Fafita threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. The only one had 1 interception. And here's the problem for UCLA. Ethan Garbers got knocked out of the game, and I don't know what happened to him. I think he got a concussion. He got hurt in some sort of way. And then Dante Moore had to take over, and then eventually, and I think they even had Colin Schlee take over at Wildcat, which was no good. So now the big question is for UCLA, who's going to be starting quarterback now if Ethan Garbers isn't healthy? So I'm extremely concerned for UCLA. Thankfully for UCLA, they don't have a tough matchup this week. They are at home against Arizona State. Now, if UCLA finds some way to lose against Arizona State, then we have problems here. Thankfully for UCLA, they are bowl game eligible. So even if UCLA loses all 3 of their remaining 3 games, which heaven forbid that happens, UCLA will be bowl links this year. And 2 of the 3 games are winnable for the Bruins. And looking at UCLA's record, I wouldn't say UCLA is out of the Pac-12 championship, but they're going to need a lot of help. And they're going to need lots and lots of help in terms of well, first and foremost, they got to win out, and second and foremost, that would also include beating USC. Third and foremost, they would also need Oregon to maybe lose out as well, and then they would need everyone else to stop playing football, possibly. But anyway, for UCLA, I wouldn't say maybe count on them winning the Pac-12 championship, but it's a long shot. They have 3 Pac-12 losses, and it's going to be a tough one to see them, win the Pac-12 championship or make it to the championship game. But all in all, for the Bruins, it's still a good year. However, this whole quarterback merry-go-round is really starting to become annoying, and I really have to wonder who's going to be their quarterback this year. It's going to be between, I think it's Chase Young, Dante Moore, and Ethan Garbers. And heck, I think there might be even one more that might be popping up, as it could also be Justin Martin or Colin Schlee as well, as he even took 5 attempts last week. So, man, or I'm sorry, not Chase Young, Chase Griffin. Chase Young is on the Chicago or the San Francisco 49ers. So that's that for the UCLA Bruins, and I'm sure they're going to win. I didn't get a chance to make predictions, as I have USC falling to Oregon. I want to say they'll win, but I think Oregon is going to outduel them barely. I'll say Oregon wins 35-31, and then I think UCLA wins 28-13. That sounds about right in terms of UCLA. All right, now let's close up the FBS with a little San Diego State. And oh my God, I can't stand San Diego State football. San Diego State is so frustrating, it's not even funny. Do I really got to talk about them? So the last time we talked about them, they had lost 6-0 to then winless Nevada. And I went on a major tirade about them, a major rant about them. So their last game, they took on Utah State. And this wasn't the Utah State from about a few years ago when they won the Mountain West Conference Championship. This was a Utah State that was kind of on the rebuild. And eventually San Diego State at Snapdragon Stadium, they wound up losing in double overtime, 32-24. So, again, this is another case of San Diego State basically laying another goose egg. Well, the defense wasn't too bad, but they wasted a big game where Jalen Maiden had a solid game. He had 3 touchdown passes. He had 265 passing yards. He did throw an interception, but still, it was wasted because Utah State still found a way to win, and San Diego State just can't play a full 4 quarters. And it's either the defense is giving up too many points or the offense is just so inept. And the worst part is that San Diego State, San Diego State has to run the table. If San Diego State fails to run the table, they're not going to go bowling this year. And I don't think they want that. But the problem is that one of San Diego State's opponents is really good, being their last game of the season. But before they can get there, they have a game this Saturday as they hit the road to the Rocky Mountains to take on Colorado State, as that game is at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So I don't even want to predict this one. I can't even predict on who's going to win between Colorado State and San Diego State. I'm just hoping for the best when it comes to San Diego State, honestly. Because San Diego State also has San Jose State next week, and San Diego State closes out the regular season against Fresno State. But the way it's looking like it, I don't think San Diego State is going to go bowling. Like their previous 2 games were San Diego State's best chances of winning. They failed to do that. So, and it sucks because San Diego State has no good wins to show for it. Their only true good win was against Hawaii. I don't even think Ohio is Ohio in F? No, they are. Ohio is in the Mid-American Conference. I forgot. Idaho's their FCS win. So they only have 2 FBS wins against Ohio and Hawaii. That's how you know San Diego State is having one of its worst years in its program's history. And I think it's safe to say Brady Hoke should be on his way out. Anyway, so I'm not even going to try to predict San Diego State winning on if they're going to win or not. So all I just got to say is good luck to you, San Diego State. Just try to bring home a win against Colorado State. Jumping over to the FBS in football, so San Diego, they actually, unlike San Diego State, they've actually won 2 in a row, as they took down Morehead State 17-11, and they took down Presbyterian 23-13, as San Diego was actually featured on ESPN segment Bad Beats with Stanford Steve and Scott Van Pelt, as I forget what the cover line was, but San Diego managed to ruin the... I forget if it was the over or not, but they ruined the bet line, and yeah, I'm sorry to those that picked... San Diego was a 5-point favorite, and for those that picked the against San Diego, I feel for you. Yeah, and and for those that picked the over, well, I also feel. No, I forget. What am I talking about? San Diego and Presbyterian combined for 36 points. So, yeah. So for the Toreros, they are hosting St. Thomas of Minnesota this Saturday, which again, I don't know what to expect at this point for San Diego. I mean, with all that they've been through, I'm surprised they're now starting to win, but they probably have their full team back. Anyway, as for Cal Poly, they just got back from their bye last time we were talking about them, but their most recent game, they lost to East Washington 48-13, which is just straight up sad right there. But it's Cal Poly. They're having no better of a season than San Diego. As Cal Poly, their next matchup will see them hitting the road to Sacktown to take on Sacramento State. Sacramento State is a fairly underrated team in my opinion, so I don't see Cal Poly winning this one. But you never know. It's any given weekend. But good luck to the Mustangs as we want to see you bring home a win. So that's that for some college football right there. Jumping over to some NWSL. Unfortunately, we got to send off San Diego Wave FC as sadly their season came to an end. As unfortunately for Wave FC, they lost to OL Reign in the NWSL semifinals 1-0 at home, mind you. So Snapdragon Stadium is still cursed to them, and San Diego Sports, I think, is still cursed to this day. It sucks because I really wanted to see San Diego win a championship in a sport, but unfortunately that is still not the case. As it was scoreless through the first half, but then in the second half, Veronica Latsko of OL Reign scored for OL Reign 2 minutes into the second half, and Wave FC just could not get anything going, as one of my friends on Twitter, or X, he basically said, Wave FC is going to need to hurry up and go hurry up offense because time is not on their side. And I'm like, har har. That's pretty funny right there. And unfortunately, Wave FC just straight up lost. And it sucks because I really wanted to see Wave FC get the win and host the NWSL finals because I think they could have beaten Gotham, but sadly we are never going to get that result. It's going to be OL Reign and Gotham in the final, because, yeah, the Portland Thorns lost in the final as well, or in the semifinals as well. Go figure. Man, SoCal just could not catch a break. Frickin' OL Reign. Frickin' A, dude. All I just gotta say is pain. It's all I have to say. San Diego just can't have good things in this world. I swear to you, man. It was one thing with the Chargers, but with this, man. Anyway, but it was still a phenomenal season for San Diego Wave FC, and I hope they get back onto this stage. And the fact that they made the semifinals for the past 2 straight seasons, well, they've been in the league for the past 2 years. It's still great to see, but the fact that they have lost 1-0 in both games is just straight up bad, dude. So I hope Wave FC is able to make the adjustments to eventually come up big when those big games are needed. But it is what it is sometimes, as sometimes that's just how the ball bounces, which is no pun intended. So before we move on from the NWSL, I do need to go over Becki Tweed, as Becki Tweed was the former interim coach for Angel City FC. Notice how I said the word former interim coach. Now she is the permanent head coach for Angel City FC, the NWSL soccer team from Los Angeles. So Becki Tweed took over for Freya Coombe, who was fired like midway through the season, but now Tweed is the official head coach of Angel City FC after she led the team to only 1 regular season loss following the firing of Coombe, and she led the team to the playoffs, which was absolutely phenomenal. So great job to Becki Tweed on getting the head coaching position permanently, and she deserves it. And it's a great in-house hire. You don't have to go through any coaching process or coaching interviews, and she earned it. Continuing on with some soccer, let's jump on over to some LAFC. And I cannot believe that the MLS playoffs have gone through a major change. And I kind of understand that why they changed the format of this, just because you don't want to be one and done. But for LAFC, they actually had to win 2 games. So the MLS Cup format has totally changed. So instead of 7 teams making the playoffs, it actually is 9 teams that make the playoffs. It's just the 8 versus 9 seed actually has to face one another, and then they play each other in a 1-match playoff, and then the winner of that gets to play the 1 seed of the conference. And then once you make the actual playoffs, then you basically have to play a best 2 out of 3 series, and you have to win 2 matches. And if you win 2 matches, then you advance to the next round, and so on and so forth. So for LFC, they actually had to win 2 matches against Vancouver. They won on Saturday, October 28th, winning 5-2 over the Vancouver Whitecaps, which is good. And then they won the second matchup in Vancouver 1-0, as LAFC wound up winning the series 2-0 as they advanced to the MLS Cup semifinals in the Western Conference, which is good. So LAFC will be playing the winner of Seattle-Dallas. So the series is tied between Seattle-Dallas at 1-1, as Dallas wound up winning the most recent matchup 3-1. So the 2 teams play each other tonight at Seattle, so it all depends on who's going to be the opponent of LAFC. Well, that's going to do it for the soccer portion of the show, as well as the football portion. Let's take ourselves a quick little break. When we come back, got some college basketball to go over. We have some NBA to go over, as the Lakers finally they beat the Los Angeles Clippers, and we have the Dumb of the Week to go over, and we have some Angels news to go over. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kieran Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, Daily, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. from the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Let's Whine About DMV Sports, which will be going on later on today at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Also, the Carolina Cast with John Felipe will be going on in about 50 minutes. So let's try to get on cleared out before he goes live. So let's go over some college hoops. So I'm not going to go over every college basketball team, but I'll try to go over at least USC, UCLA, and San Diego State. Unfortunately, I can't go over the Big West Conference teams, nor California Baptist. So I apologize to those teams. So there you go. But for USC, and I also apologize to LMU, Pepperdine, and San Diego. But for USC, they kicked off their season on Monday as they posted a pretty solid win in the Las Vegas Hall of Fame series as they took down Kansas State 82-69. This is on the men's side as they won 82-69. Nice. As Boogie Ellis had 24 points in the win. Now, pretty solid. Isaiah Collier, who was the number 1 recruit and who made his debut with the Trojans, he had 18 points and he was 7 for 9 from the field, which was nice. Kobe Johnson had 16 points, and then Joshua Morgan had 11 points. So all in all, it was a great team win for USC, and Kansas State is not a bad team whatsoever. USC also beat Cal State Bakersfield last night, 85-59. Now, let's be honest, it's Cal State Bakersfield. Let's not get too crazy about this win, just because it's just Bakersfield. We're not going to throw a parade just because the Trojans beat the Roadrunners. But the Trojans are back in action against another Big West Conference team as they will host UC Irvine on Tuesday. Unfortunately for the Anteaters, they lost to San Jose State 72-64. I know I said I wouldn't be talking about the other Big West Conference teams, but it is what it is. So as for UCLA, they actually kicked off their season on Monday. They took down St. Francis of Pennsylvania as they crushed them 75-44. As tonight, UCLA, the Bruins, will be taking on Lafayette. And after that, on Wednesday, they'll be taking on Long Island. And then the Bruins don't have a big-time matchup until they take on Marquette in the All-State Maui Invitational, which I imagine we'll be seeing Bill Walton on the call. We'll probably rocking a Hawaii shirt, but I digress. So there's that matchup right there for the Bruins. And it's going to be tough for Mick Cronin to replicate the success that he had last year, but it is what it is. So that's that for UCLA and USC right there in terms of men's basketball. Trying to find San Diego State, as I know they play BYU tonight, but I do know that they wouldn't say they play tonight at BYU. And they took down Cal State Fullerton 83-57. That was on Monday. So tonight they play BYU. Tuesday they will host Long Beach State, my alma mater, which wound up losing to Portland in its season opener. And then San Diego State next Friday, they actually have a tough matchup as they actually play at St. Mary. They play St. Mary's in the Continental Tire main event, which will be at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. So that's cool right there. So that's kind of that for San Diego State men's basketball. I'm only going to limit it to only men's basketball in terms of men's basketball, I'm only going to limit it to San Diego State, USC, and UCLA. But once college football season is over with and the NFL is pretty much done with, I will get into some of the Big West Conference teams, and then some of the West Coast Conference teams, and then we'll get to some California Baptist and whatnot. So as for college women's hoops, so USC is off to a great start, and I also got to give a shout out to the Pac-12 in general, as they are the only conference that is undefeated, as they are a whopping 19-0, and hopefully I didn't jinx it, and hopefully no team has lost, and yeah, no team has lost as of this point, as of this recording. So as for USC, they wound up winning their season opener against number 7 Ohio State in the Hall of Fame Series game on Monday, 83-74, and this was held at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it was a huge win for the women of Troy, as Juju Watkins, the number 1 recruit for USC and number 1 recruit in 2023, she had a whopping 32 points, as Juju Watkins was her. And I think she had the most points in a season opener for USC. Don't know if it was the most points for a season opener in terms of NCAA women's basketball, but it was still a great season opener regardless, as she gets my big W award right there. That is how you open up your college women's basketball career right there. And that's how you open up a season against number 7 Ohio State. That is just huge right there. So the women of Troy are back in action tonight against Florida Gulf Coast. They will be hosting Florida Gulf Coast, and then Monday USC hosts Lemoyne. And then the following Monday, USC takes on Seton Hall in the Baja Mar Pink Flamingo Championship, which they also play Penn State on that same week, which is Thanksgiving week. So that's that for USC. Number 21 USC, which starts out the season at number 21 in the college AP poll. For UCLA, they start out at number 4, which, man, that's big expectations right there. But I know the Lady Bruins can do it, as UCLA kicked off their season with a dominant 92-49 win over Purdue, and they followed that up with another strong win as they won 90-52 over UC Riverside. So UCLA is doing big things already, as the Lady Bruins are back in action on Sunday against Bellarmine, and then next Friday they will be taking on Princeton. The big challenge everyone needs to be having their eyes on is on Black Friday, November 24th, when UCLA takes on number 2 UConn in the John Gray Gymnasium in the Cayman Islands Classic in Georgetown, the Cayman Islands, where all the ladies is smiling. If y'all get that reference, y'all get the big W award for the year. But that is going to be a great matchup. UConn versus UCLA. Ooh, boy. I cannot wait for that matchup. But that's going to be a great matchup right there, and I'm excited to see what USC can do. And I really can't wait to see what UCLA and USC can do when they face one another, because I think USC is building something really special, and then UCLA is going to build off of that deep playoff NCAA tournament run that it had last year. Unfortunately for San Diego State, it did not have a great season opener, as they wound up losing to Portland 72-58. What is it with Portland and season openers to certain teams? Like, come on, dude. First, its men's basketball team had to ruin Long Beach State's season opener. Then its women's basketball team had to ruin San Diego State's women's basketball season opener. Anyway, for San Diego State, they are back in action tonight as they host California Baptist, the CIT champions from last year, as the Lady Lancers, or the Lancers as most people call them. They won their season opener against UC San Diego 64-50, as Daryl Trujillo, a former Set Point guest, he actually had coverage as he covers the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference. So thank you to Mr. Trujillo on covering that game. I kind of followed it on X, so thank you to him. All right, but that is enough for some college basketball right there. There will be more college hoops once college football is over and done with. But for right now, that's kind of the gist of it. And once the big-time matchups are on, then it's going to be very, very, very exciting. And it's going to be very fun. As I also have to give a shout-out to Patty Bax and Patty Champion, as Patty Bax says, congratulations again on winning the patches. Thank you, Patty, as I actually won a random drawing in Patty Bax's drawing from her show, as Patty Bax entered me in her drawing, and luckily I was the one that was chosen. And I do have to give a huge thank you to Patty Champion for making me the patches, and I do really like them, and I will post the picture on them on X. So thank you to Patty Champion and to Patty Bax. And Pierre Moss has popped into the chat room. He says, "Go Princeton." Nah. You really think they're going to beat UCLA? Then you got to be. Then you must. If you think they're going to beat UCLA in women's hoops, then you got another thing coming. But I digress. All right, but that's enough on college hoops. Let's jump to some NBA action. As oh man, it's been a while since I've covered the NBA. And I'm just going to say a lot has happened when it comes to the NBA. So there is this thing called the in-season tournament, and I don't know how to really feel about it. I don't know how to feel about this whole in-season tournament, but I will just say this. I kind of like it, but I kind of don't. But anyway, I will just say this. I guess it's okay. But I don't ultimately approve of it. But anyway, for the Lakers, Pierre says, no, I don't think they have a chance in heck to beat UCLA. All right. I'm sorry, Pierre. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot, but but it's all good. But anyway, to the Lakers. So it's been a while since I've covered the NBA, just because I haven't been able to do SoCal a whole lot. So a long story short, for the Lakers, they've had better days. I'm just going to say it right there. But a good thing is that it's early in the season. They've had some ups and downs. Ever since their season opening loss to the Nuggets, they beat the Suns. Then they fell to the Kings in overtime. They beat the Magic to end off the month of October. And then on the first day of November, they wound up beating the Los Angeles Clippers, which, oh my goodness, I could not believe the Lakers actually beat the Clippers. It had been I think it had been 12 games since the Lakers last beat the Clippers. But the Lakers finally beat the Clippers, as it was their first win against the Clippers since the bubble. That's how long it took since the Lakers last beat the Clippers. It was ridiculous. So, thank goodness the Lakers finally got the Clippers monkey off their back. It was a great game, and I'll give the Clippers some credit. The Clippers, it looked like the Clippers were dead in the water. I was like, okay, Lakers have got this. They're not going to lose. I could just watch some NCAA women's volleyball. And then I see the Lakers and Clippers are going into overtime. I'm like, no. Really, Lakers? I thought they were done blowing leads. Thankfully for the Lakers, they were able to hold off the Clippers, and thank goodness. But after that Clippers loss, the Lakers lost to the Magic, and they also lost to the Heat, and then they also lost to the Rockets. Long story short for the Lakers, they are winless on the road, but they are undefeated at home, which is bothersome because the Lakers could be on track to going 41-41, which is not ideal because you cannot go 41-41. You actually have to win on the road. Anyway, so the Lakers start their in-season tournament group play as they hit the road to Cactusville to take on the Phoenix Suns. Alright, well, hopefully for the Lakers' sake, they do have Anthony Davis, because they did not have Anthony Davis in, I think, a couple of the games. I don't think they had him against they didn't have him against the Rockets, which the Lakers wound up getting mollywopped, and then the previous game against the Heat, he got hurt, and then he didn't return the rest of the way, and then it was a miracle the Lakers were in that game, but wound up losing. So for the Lakers, I hope they're able to get back in it, as this in-season tournament is going to take a lot of getting used to. My only question is this. Does this count toward the 82-game season? I imagine it might, but again, I'm no expert when it comes to this. This is just foreign, if you ask me. But that's the next game for the Lakers. After that, the Lakers have the Portland Trailblazers on Sunday at the Crypto.com Arena. Then Tuesday, the Lakers host the Memphis Grizzlies. Then Wednesday, the Lakers host the Sacramento Kings on ESPN. Then next Friday, the Lakers hit the road to Portland to take on the Trailblazers in another in-season tournament group play game. So that's going to be quite interesting right there. So I think they're going to only have one game per week. So interesting. So Pierre says it does count toward the 82-game season. All right, thank you, Pierre. Again, this is just totally foreign, if you ask me. And I will never understand why you have an in-season tournament. Anyway, as for the Clippers, so the last time we talked about the Clippers was when they hosted the Portland Trailblazers in their season opener. They wound up beating them 123-111, though the Clippers led most of the way. Then after that, the Clippers followed that up with a tough 120-118 loss to the Jazz. But then after that, the Clippers wound up beating Kawhi Leonard's old team 123-83, which is great. And the Clippers crushed the Magic 118-102, but they lost to the Lakers 130-125. And then they also acquired James Harden before that matchup against the Lakers, which I don't know how to really feel about that. I think that's decent. Like, let's be honest, James Harden is not James Harden from years before. Like, he's nowhere near the James Harden as he was back in his youthful days. So I don't really know how to ultimately feel about this. Anyway, so Pierre Moss is going to like this. The Clippers wound up losing to the Knicks this past Monday, 111-97, and then the Nets wound up beating the Clippers 100-93. So, unfortunately for the Clippers are a whopping 0-2, and if you count the Lakers game, they're 0-3 against. They're 0-3 in the James Harden era. So, well, I mean, if you want to count the Lakers game, then sure, but James Harden did not arrive in time for that Lakers game, so I digress. Anyway, so for tonight, the Clippers also have a in-season tournament group play game as they hit the road to Dallas-Fort Worth to take on the Dallas Mavericks. And then Sunday, the Clippers host the Memphis Grizzlies. Tuesday, the Clippers hit the road to the defending champions to take on the Denver Nuggets. And then Friday, the Clippers have another group play game against the Houston Rockets. So there's that right there for the Clippers. The Clippers and Lakers are pretty much having the same record. The only difference is that the Clippers have played one less game. But it's still early, so I can't really hit the panic button on both of them just yet. But I will say this for the Lakers. Can you please win on the road for once? Like, this is kind of a little weird. And yeah, Pierre says, I love both of those results. I had a feeling you would, buddy. I had a feeling you would. But that's that for the NBA portion of this show. All right, but let's pump the brakes on the NBA and let's jump on into some MLB news. So, yeah, I know the MLB just ended like a while ago, but I do want to give a shout out to Shohei Ohtani on getting his second career Silver Slugger award. So, that's something good to know. So I'm happy for that, considering it was such a bleak year for the Angels. And I'm using the word bleak a little lightly just because, well, it was more than just a bleak year. They finished with the worst record of the 3 SoCal teams in the Dodgers and the Padres. But in other news for the Angels, they also hired their new manager, Ron Washington. So he came from the Atlanta Braves, and I think he also had a stint with the Texas Rangers, which also wound up winning the World Series just recently. So good job to the Angels for hiring Ron Washington. And I think this is a great hire. I think Ron Washington is a great hire, even though he's 71 years old. But I think this is a great hire, and I really think that they can work off this. So I just hope that the Angels can build around this. They could build around this roster, and they could actually get good results, and eventually get good pitching and stay healthy. So here we go, Angels. Let's hope that you could actually put it together, because this is getting really, really, really annoying when it comes to your choking. But that is pretty much going to do it when it comes to that little bit of news, as I don't think we have too much to go over, as I went over college football, I went over the NFL, I went over the MLB, and I went over the MLS, the NWSL. So I think it is that time, ladies and gentlemen, to go over you all know what time it is. It's time for the Dum Dum of the Week. But first and foremost, I actually do have to wish a happy Veterans Day to everybody. I know Veterans Day is on the 11th, and as of this recording, this is the 10th. But this is the observance of Veterans Day today. So Veterans Day obviously is to acknowledge all the veterans that have served and made the ultimate sacrifice. If you know someone that served the country, or that served in any of the armed forces, tell them Happy Veterans Day. Tell them thank you for your country. Tell them thank you for your service. Just tell them thank you. And today, as you all know, or if you follow my personal account at Teran Rodriguez 1 on X, you know I work at a grocery store. What I don't tell you is that today actually something good happened to me. So there was a veteran a U.S. Air Force veteran that came by, and this is something good that my store does. So pavilions, and I think most grocery stores do, they give out 10% to veterans that work or that have served in the military. So that's good. So that's a big W award to all the grocery stores that give out 10% to those that have served in the armed forces. And any grocery store that doesn't do that, or any store that doesn't do that, they're dumb. So there was someone that came through my line, and the cashier gave him 10% off, and the person that served in the armed forces, he gave me and the cashier a U.S. military pin. And honestly, I'm happy he gave me this pin. It actually was very nice that he gave me. It actually was kind of the highlight of my day, and it's kind of the highlight of my work stint at working at pavilions. Normally, you're not supposed to take gifts when it comes to working at the grocery store, but I say this: screw that rule. But it really did warm my heart, and I really do have to give a salute to that U.S. Air Force veteran who gave me this Air Force pin. So thank you to that U.S. Air Force veteran that gave me this U.S. pin. I really do appreciate it, and it really means a lot. I'm not getting emotional or anything, but it really did mean a lot that he gave that to me. It really does mean a lot, and it just shows that veterans deserve all the respect in the world, because they served our country, and they're the reason why I'm doing this whole thing, and they're the reason why you're doing your thing as well. There's a reason why you're probably listening to this whole thing. So I urge you to please thank a veteran if you know one, if you see one. Just tell them thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you've done. And to all the veterans out there, I really do appreciate all that you've done for us. You are amazing, and we really do appreciate you, and I salute y'all on this Veterans Day observance, and I salute y'all on Veterans Day tomorrow. So, to every veteran out there, they get the Big W award, no matter what. All right, now let's get on into the Dum Dum of the Week. So, the Dum Dum of the Week goes out to those that do to an organization or to someone that does or says something dumb. No one is safe from this award. Anybody can get this Dum Dum of the Week award, whether it is an organization, whether it's the horsefly that was just recently by me, whether it's my neighbor's dog. No one is safe from this Dum Dum of the Week award. And I kind of have to give myself the mini Dum Dum of the Week award because, well, I started Puka Nacua over Kareem Hunt, or I flexed Puka Nacua over Kareem Hunt. So, long story short, I forgot Matthew Stafford wasn't starting. So, oops. Note to self, never start Rams players with a backup quarterback. So, unfortunately, it kind of cost me. I wound up losing by a whopping 0.45 in fantasy football. And my opponent was undefeated, mind you. So, long story short, just whenever a team is starting a backup quarterback, just sit your players, no matter how good they are. All right, but yeah, that's kind of the reason why I get mini Dum Dum of the Week. But it's fantasy football. You never know when somebody can have a good week or if somebody can have a bad week. Anyway, but that's that right there. But now for the actual Dum Dum of the Week. All jokes aside, it's time for the actual Dum Dums of the Week. So, I gotta give... first and foremost, to people on social media, y'all suck sometimes. There are two instances where I gotta give y'all Dum Dum of the Week. First and foremost, my boy James H. Williams. First and foremost, what did he ever do to some of y'all? If y'all ain't following James H. Williams, he covers UCLA football. He's a great follow. And he does an excellent job covering UCLA football and all things sports. Whether it's like high school sports or anything sports and whatnot. But, first, why are the trolls like out to get James H. Williams? I randomly saw Kansas State, I think it was like a Florida fan, saying why did James Williams vote Florida, not put Florida in his top 25? And then I'm wondering, wait, what the heck? What's going on here? And I'm just mind blown at this. And then it's like, what is going on around here? And I'm just confused at what's going on. And then a week later, there's this Kansas State fan who says, take this dude's vote away. Or I'm sorry, I think it was a Kansas State fan. And then there was an Ole Miss fan who says, take this dude's vote away. Ole Miss quite literally beat LSU. So this man, James H. Williams, this dude is getting berated by random fans who probably don't know college football. First and foremost, shut the heck up. I'm not going to curse because I don't have the explicit button, but look, I don't care what you have to say. The dude knows what he's doing. Who cares if he didn't vote Kansas State? If you didn't vote Kansas State in your top 25? Who cares if they didn't vote Ole Miss in your top 25? Just let the man do his job. If I see one more person saying, oh, take James's vote away, he didn't vote my team in the top 25, I swear I'm going to go after you and I'm going to fight you to the bitter end on X. Because you're being childish, first and foremost. Second of all, it's his vote. He can do whatever the frick he wants to. It's just ridiculous, dude. Who cares if he doesn't vote your team in the top 25? It's just one vote, and other people can vote your team in the top 25. Why do you have to get after one guy? And I guess James is doing his job correctly because people are actually paying attention to this. So first and foremost, I got to give James the Big W award because people are paying attention to detail. And second and foremost, to the people on X who are trolling James and saying, "Oh, take this man's vote away. He didn't vote my team into the top 25. You can get this dumb of the week because you are dumb as heck, boy!
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I'm sorry to those that basically had to hear a loud shout if you were hearing with earbuds, but I'm sorry. I just can't take First and foremost, James H. Williams is a good friend of mine. I just can't stand my friends getting pestered on Twitter or X. And like I said, if you pester my friends on X or social media and I find out, you're going to get called out and you're going to get put on Dumb of the Week. I don't give a crap who you are. And if you're this same person, you're going to get dragged out more times than not and you're going to get put on Dumb of the Week. I will find out, and if this continues on, it's going to be a thing of... It's not going to be a beautiful thing. So there's that right there. And then the second instance on social media is, why are we judging Caleb Williams on him crying? First and foremost, I understand Caleb Williams should not have been crying in public. But the dude just lost to Washington. The dude poured his heart and soul into basically playing against Washington. The dude tried his hardest against the number, 5 team in the nation? But unfortunately, his team came up short. It's not his fault his defense gave up 52 points. It's not his fault his defensive coordinator is the equivalent of Brandon Staley. It's not his fault that he couldn't put together a game-winning drive just because his offense just could not score more than 52 points. I mean, it partially is, but still. The defense gave up 52 points. His team put up 42. So, and Washington has a freaking Heisman nominee of their own in Michael Penix Jr. And it doesn't help that the defense gave up 4 touchdowns on the ground to some dude named Dylan Johnson. And they gave up 250 plus rushing yards. So, long story short, Caleb Williams has every right to be upset. He has every right to cry. The dude has earned the right to cry. Now, he could have cried in the locker room. I understand. And to the person that filmed him, well, you suck. Thanks for getting him on film. But Caleb Williams is passionate about the game. The dude is passionate about winning. He cares so much about USC, and he cares about the team. I mean, everyone basically jumped all over Terrell Owens when he cried when his team lost. What was it? Was it the Dallas Cowboys when they lost to the Giants, or was it the Niners? I don't know what team that Terrell Owens was on when he was crying, but I think it was the Cowboys when Terrell Owens and Tony Romo were on the same team on. But still, people cry all the time, and it's just a way of getting out all the emotion out of you and getting out all the sadness. It's therapy, so there's no need to judge Caleb Williams, and I understand. Maybe he should have... There's a reason why he was concealed when he was crying. So people need to get a grip and just get a grip and just lay off him, dude. The dude is doing everything he can to keep USC relevant. It's not his fault that the defense just straight up is garbage truck juice, sewage, water spill, all that sort of thing. So to everyone that is completely trolling and just calling out Caleb Williams for being a baby and whatnot, well, you're part of the problem. And second and foremost, you're basically inhumane, and it shows that Caleb Williams is human and that he cares for his team. So everyone just needs to lay off and just shut up. Just shut up and just let the man just do his thing. And if you want to keep being mean, and if you want to at least have, like, Marcus actually said something respectable. Like, he said, Caleb, I know you are sad, and I know you did everything you can, but you could go into the locker room and cry all you want. Now, that is a respectable thing. Now, that is a respectable opinion, and I gotta tip my hat to Marcus. That is a respectable opinion right there. Marcus does make a great point. He could have gone to the locker room and cried there. But instead, Caleb just hopped into the stands and cried with his parents and whatnot. The dude did everything he can. He just wanted to be with his mama and whatnot. But Marcus actually said something respectable, and I tipped my hat to him. But everyone else that's calling out Caleb Williams for him crying and doing everything that he did and him just being with his mom in a negative way, it's just not right. So for everyone else that's calling out Caleb Williams for crying in a negative fashion, well, you're the dum-dum of the week, and I really wish y'all would stop being the problem.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And Patty Backs actually makes a good point. He says his parents were probably not allowed in the locker room. That's also true right there. That's definitely something you need to take into consideration as well. And a mother's love is a love that knows no bounds. So there you go. Great point there, Patty. All right, now we got to go on into the third dum-dum of the week. And, I really got to get on into this dum-dum of the week. And I got to actually put this one, make this one perfect. All right, so I don't know how to basically give this dum-dum of the week out, but I'm just going to say this. This man straight up messed up. This man straight up messed up and then some. So I can give the entire organization dum-dum of the week, but, well, this man in particular gets dum-dum of the week. So for those of you that don't know, Kirk Cousins is out for the season. He tore his Achilles, and he's done for the Minnesota Vikings. So Jalen Hall was supposed to be the quarterback, but he is a late-round pick for the Vikings in the most recent draft, which I don't think he's going to win you a whole lot of games. So the Vikings, before the trade deadline, they actually went out and they got Josh Dobbs, who isn't really the sexiest and flashiest quarterback. But here's the thing about Josh Dobbs. So Josh Dobbs said that Jonathan Gannon told him that he wasn't going to be traded. I'm not kidding you. He said, and I quote, Josh Dobbs said, according to JPA Football, I don't know if this is legit or not, Josh Dobbs said Jonathan Gannon told him that he wouldn't be getting traded or released. And to quote Maury Povich, that was a lie. Well, Jonathan Gannon, you done messed up because guess what happened? Josh Dobbs came in for Jalen Hall, who left with a concussion, and Josh Dobbs helped lead the Vikings to a win over the Atlanta Falcons. Well, how did trading Josh Dobbs work out for you, Jonathan Gannon? Did that work out for you fine? I hope that worked out fine for you, because it certainly didn't for your team, who had to start Clayton Tune, who put up 0 points against the Browns. Now, I know the Browns have a good defense, but still, straight up 0 points. And I know y'all are getting Kyler Murray back this week, but still, there's no loyalty. How dare you say to a quarterback, you're not going to get traded or released, and then you say, we're trading you to Minnesota for a third-round pick. it's times like these I wish the Vikings were playing the Cardinals, and I really wish that Josh Dobbs would tear the Cardinals to shreds. I'm sorry to Cardinals fans. I'm sorry that you have to deal with an organization this incompetent, but for Jonathan Gannon to basically say that to his quarterback, that's messed up. And I know the NFL is a business, but still, to basically say, oh, you're not going to get traded, and we're not going to release you. You're here for us for a good long time. And then for them to say, oh, hey, we just traded you to Minnesota for a third rounder. Pack your bags. See you around, Josh Dobbs. Some loyalty. No wonder the Cardinals are on the bottom of the NFC West. So, I hate to tell you this, Jonathan Gannon, but you're kind of dum-dum of the week. And to the entire Cardinals organization, you're dum-dum of the lifetime. First and foremost, you got rid of DeAndre Hopkins and got rid of him to the Titans of all teams. You could have sent him to the Rams or some better contender, maybe the Bills. But no, you had to send him to the Titans of all teams. Ugh. And then, second and foremost, what are you going to do with Kyler Murray? And is he going to really be the answer for y'all? For your sake, I hope so. And if you draft Caleb Williams and you ruin him, I promise y'all are going to be getting more than Dum-Dum of the Week. Much more. But for now, Jonathan Gannon and Arizona Cardinals, y'all are Dum-Dum of the Week. How dare y'all?
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. Yeah, and I couldn't and I had to make up for last week. But on that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, before my voice gives out on me, it is time I get on out of here. Because in 10 minutes, we got Carolina Cast with John Felipe coming on. Yeah, dig! Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to the chat room. I appreciate y'all. Patty Bax, Marcus, Los, Great, Mike Pat, Pierre Moss, Larry B, and Jen B. I really do appreciate y'all. Also coming on later in the day, we have the Sports Couple Perspective with Larry B and Cecilia B. And we also have Let's Whine About DMV Sports with Mike Pat. You definitely got to check out all of these shows. And thank you, Patty Baxing. Another great show, Teran. I appreciate you. Definitely check out the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax. I'm hoping to be back next week with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. But I will be back with my regular time with Set Point this upcoming Monday. So definitely check that out. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans. Like I said, please wish a veteran a happy Veterans Day. Thank them for their service. I will see you all Monday for Set Point. Have a great rest of the weekend, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!